Being that that's loading, we'll just take a minute and just see if we could talk something out about this. There's no point in rushing through it or anything. We're waiting for that to load. The issue about it relates to healthcare, but it relates to the debt and all these things. That a lot of political movements in the country and elsewhere, for example, are that's the worst, but they're aware of it in people who care about like these developing countries, late industrializing countries, or what we just used to call the third world. Okay, they're saying, well, look, part of they want their debt of the national debt of those countries canceled. They say that it's created by the fact that they have no control over their own economies, no control over foreign direct investment, how much of their currency is bought up, and no controls on capital movement in and out of the country. So they're saying, well, look, the serious political movements who care about the developing world, they're saying, well, that debt should just be canceled because the societies keep collapsing because of this. See, that neoliberal project that happened in the last 30 years. Part of this thing called the Washington Consensus, like this is they get see we were bailing out all our domestic things. The problem there is those developing economies keep crashing worse than ours, of course, because they're not wealthy countries like as wealthy as the United States, of course. But why political movements are calling for their debt to be canceled? But we could be talking about because it's only happening because those policies were inflicted on them. Okay, if they could have any control of their own economy, they wouldn't have that massive debt. There's institutions like the IMF, like they don't bail out the country, they bail out the lenders every time the country collapses because of money moving in and out and so forth, and no, they can't build their own economy. But the fact that is we have the same problem. Our national debt is just a product of this project that got going. Remember that the whole World Trade Organization, everything. This is all relatively recent. This thing, but what's frustrating is young people at like the liberal colleges and stuff. I did kind of we looked at that movie, The Corporation. The scary music and saying like governments have become powerless and everything. Well, not really. If the population's informed, the political class and the congressmen are informed, Obama said himself he'll sit down with world leaders and talk about anything. And since all nations now have the same problem, that they're hostage to the transnational sector, that anything they do to build their economy, build new waves of production, protect their economy, protect new industries, get a healthcare system. Right, they get punished by the transnational sector with flight of capital because we have no control over how much of our currency, like British banks buy up, they can move it in and out. Okay, that's the same problem the developing world has. Okay, it's not, but governments, they're not powerless. There's what Chomsky and others call like a virtual senate of lenders and investors at the transnational level that punish governments like ours if we were to do something like, protect our own economy. But that's something that's when world leaders meet. Yeah, that's the top of the whole thing. I mean, Obama could say it is time for us to talk about having what ended 30 years ago, which is just a rational world economic order where nations can protect their own economies. Now all nations have the same problem, except of course in Asia and places like that. But part of the sort of brainwash everyone hears under, look at countries like China, they claim what they're doing is somehow like they're manipulating their currency. I mean, no, they're doing what we would want to do, what any country want to do. They have full control over their economy. They have full control over their currency. They intentionally devalue it so that it's good for their exports. They know what they're doing. The only rules they're breaking are the neoliberal rules because they can do what they want because they're a military power. But they're not doing anything wrong. We should be doing the same thing here. All right, and but we have the same problem developing countries have. World leaders can sit and meet about this. Documentaries like that say like governments are powerless. They're not powerless if the parliaments of those countries are aware of the problem, if our Congress is aware of the problem, and people know we've lost economic sovereignty, it's a nationalist, like sort of patriot issue, demand both parties can be in complete agreement on this. They want the president to sit down with world leaders and say we have to stop this. We're all hostage to the transnational sector. None of us have any control over our economies anymore. That's that. That by the way, that's what happened in New Hampshire. This Bretton Woods thing, where I was talking about, and LaRouche movement's calling for a new Bretton Woods. It's just a matter of they have negotiators that negotiate a rational economic order so the transnational sector and international lenders and investors can't just hold governments hostage from wanting to, get a healthcare program, stimulate their own economy, have some control of their currency so it doesn't keep devaluing, and also prevent this massive, ever-expanding national debt by having control over their economy and then having exports. We're not just importing. We have a physical economy again. The prejudice towards financial capital benefits international banks and whatever, and most of them are in, like I said, like Britain and like Royal Bank of Scotland. That's what those policies of the past 30 years benefit, and they're made at the transnational sector. I think our Congress is meeting in secret. That's weird enough. No, the kind of decisions that affect our economy are actually being made in Brussels and Geneva by this, but it's not, the government's not powerless. If the Congress is economically literate, if the people are informed about why everything's collapsing, and ask the president, it's time to meet with world leaders and use our we really have a voice because we play this essential role. But the entire Congress is just filled with politicians that apparently can't even get along with each other on a personal level. It's really time that people looked at the problem that way.